happened? I must be bad at this. But hey, the driver's installed, so let's do it. Sorry for the notification again. I don't know how the notifications work, so alright, note to self, do not install driver while streaming. Alright. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Look at Bender dancing there. I forgot I did that. Thanks, welcome Easy Politics. We'll do more politics stuff. That's what I want to do. We really gonna optimize shaders right now? How was I this unprepared to play Call of Duty? It was working fine this morning. Truly unbelievable. Maybe we'll play something else. Just because this is not good. Yeah. I think we might have to play something else. No, let's do it. Let's try. If the game crashes, we'll play something else. This game's gonna be pretty loud, I feel like. So. It's not looking great. There we go. Oh, it's already pretty low. Okay. I'll check if it's too loud in the stream manager. I have a 3070, just saying. Like, look at this. Look at this texture.
We have the lead. Tossing a decoy. Tossing the recharge.
We've lost the lead.
Is that a frame by frame? What just happened?
Enemy fighting here!
Got him. I can't even see that guy.
Reloading.
Ah!
Hostile counter UAV overhead.
Let's try not do long range stuff with this gun.
Oh my god.
We're getting overrun. Fall back.
Dude, this looks so bad on stream.
Charging mags!
Hostile UAV in the area.
I don't know why it looks that bad. I'm gonna not
We're
play this
getting
game
hit
ever.
hard.
I
Friendly
don't know
UAV
how
on
streamers
station.
are playing this. Because I don't even have like, it's not like I have max settings on or anything, but like and I'm not dropping frames on my end, but
Cold-blooded
I'm looking at
activated.
at what you guys are seeing and it's so bad. So I'm sorry about that. We will fix this.
UAV active.
I'm gonna die and then I'm gonna quit, I think.
Friendly UAV online. UAV ready to deploy. Hostile UAV in the area. Friendly vehicles are inbound. The enemy has the advantage. Take it back.
What? I've never seen a guy there. That was cool. Yep, this is not good. I'm just gonna alt F4 out of this. Okay. Let's just go back to React stuff for now while I figure out what I want to do. Oh, this is way too long. I'm looking for like Hank
Good
Green.
morning, John.
Okay.
I recently realized that I have an obsession I didn't know about, which is not that unusual for me. I was just scrolling through my photos, like you do, and I noticed that in the last few weeks I've taken a lot of pictures of signs. So then I just searched Google Photos for signs, and I found out that I have taken like hundreds of pictures of signs over the last 15 years. The earliest one was actually from 2004, so we're getting up close to 20, and a lot of them are just objectively very good. So I'm going to share with you now my favorites. One thing I love about a sign is if it's telling me more than it thinks it's telling me. For example, this swan hunters must have visible means of retrieval sign told me that there are swan hunters in the world and that sometimes they shoot a swan that they cannot retrieve, and that is a problem that can only really be avoided in one way. This sign told me that pit toilets are cleaned by human beings, which is something I probably should have known but didn't. It also just has a tremendous kick-ass aesthetic with all of the scratch graffiti.
Too.
This
I
sign
wonder if you
told
guys can
me
hear me.
that somebody kicked the pony. I also really like secret signs like this one I found on the inside door of
Really,
a
I'm just
mailbox.
working
I
out
also
the
like
kinks
signs
today,
that tell me
dude.
there's a story without telling me what the story is. Like these 3 signs that all say do not enter, but one of them has been taped over. Like, why? Why tape over one? There is a story here. I cannot imagine what it is. I love a beautiful
Okay, I think
sign,
you guys can hear
but
me.
I also love a sign that becomes more beautiful. Like this railway marker, the way that the coding on the sign fractaled differently given the different shape of the W and the 5. Same with these 2 danger signs. So great. And this rusted up beast was at that same power station, which was behind the lab I worked at in 2004. These were the oldest photos I have of signs. Possibly this was the beginning of my obsession. Oh, so long ago. Aging signs is something I really seem to be into. I looked at this one for a really long time, but I could never figure out what the danger was. And then there is this sign marker at the end of a trail in the National Bison Range that I have taken pictures of so many times that I have a catalog of its deterioration. I love signs that try to be very clear and
That's kinda
succeed,
cool,
like
actually.
this danger sign I saw in Italy. But I also love signs that try too hard to be very clear. Like this no e-bike sign that has 1, 2, 3, 4 different indicators that it's talking specifically about e-bikes. Very clearly, every person in the meeting had a different idea for how to represent e-bikes, and they decided to use all of them. But most of all, my favorite genre of sign, it's clear
That's
and looking
awesome.
through them, is signs that are accidental.
It's like
fun.
some
But before we
committee
get to
shit,
that, I gotta
for
remind
sure.
you that you are going to need to buy socks throughout your life, but instead of that being a chore, I want to take care of it for you. The Awesome Socks Club will send you a pair of socks designed by a different independent artist every month. We've worked hard to make them cozy
A
and
sock
durable and
monthly
delightful.
club?
Shipping is free. You can cancel anytime, and all the profit goes to
Man, they
decrease
got
maternal and child
subscriptions for
mortality in Sierra
everything,
Leone.
dude.
You can sign up for ankle socks or mid-calf crews, and you can get $5 off your first month.
If I was an
with a
affiliate,
link
that would
in
be
the
a great
description. You
time to
pause
be
the
like,
video
you
right
can
now. I will still
subscribe
be
to
here
this
when you
Twitch
get back.
channel.
So what do I mean by unintentionally
But
funny
I'm not
designs?
even
Well, there is a
affiliated.
Hall of Fame example here in Missoula, Montana. This sign, which is meant to be 2 signs, but it is impossible to not read it as one. Certain misspelled signs can be very funny. For example, this Yald sale sign was a huge win for me. Once I really hit the jackpot when they were reorganizing my grocery store. You got snack time, eye care and feminine care, breakfast juices and candy, as well as baby care, bleach, dish soap. This one I can't really tell if it was meant to be funny. It seemed entirely sincere, so I'm including it. Then there's this giant bronze banana in Palm Springs, one of the hottest places in America. It's hot. It's a hot banana. It's a hot banana! It's on the edge of whether this is a sign, but these labeled poster boxes from the DFTBA warehouse, which can either be
Nihilism.
read top to bottom or bottom to top, giving very different perspectives on the human story. And then I'm gonna end with one of my faves. Is it my favorite? I don't know. Maybe it is. But please don't flash the octopus. It's at least in the top tier. John, you can only sign up for the Awesome Socks Club this week and next week, so you might as well go to it now. I'll see you on Tuesday. Oh look, and as a special present, this is wild. I had 15 extra seconds in this video, even though the script was very long. So I don't know what I did. I guess I talked really fast, but here's some others of my favorites. Okay, $5 off the Awesome Socks Club with the link in the description.
I love Hank Green. He's like so... I don't know. He's just a science educator. And I love people like that. I love science educators. Just in general. I might do some VR content.
Believe it
so
or
I've been
not, I've
following
actually
this
been
guy.
waiting for this game to come out, because when I first saw gameplay of Frenzy, it looked like Teardown in VR, which I thought would be really satisfying. And now that I've played it, I think it would be better described as Steroid Simulator VR, which turns out is even more satisfying.
Alright.
This
Bulldozer
looks fun.
time.
Because some objects do require a crowbar or a couple hits with a hammer to break down objects like doors, computers, and human beings.
RTX on! Oh my god, alright, fine.
But the very first thing I did in this game was set a clipboard down and completely obliterate my desk.
Oh my god, how heavy is that clipboard?
It is fantastic, and really the only reason I played this game. I tried to play the story mode, but I just wanted to break things, and Jim Bezos was
Story.
getting in the way of that.
I've had orders from above.
Oh my
This
god.
is your new workplace. If I see you out of this room, you're a dead man. Now get back to work.
Jim Bezos. Alright.
Get
Hello,
back to work.
fellow co-workers. No one is alarmed. No one heard any of what just happened. No one's scared about me bursting through the door. No, we're all good. How's it going, Steve?
You have to collect more steroids and throw your coworkers out of windows to progress to new rooms with more breakable things, and I really just wanted to smash every breakable object in sight as fast as possible and never wanted it to stop.
Woo! Oh my god, I'm so
This does
strong.
look,
We're just
like,
we're
fun,
becoming
but, like,
a Black
I don't know how
Mirror
much of a
episode
game
where
it is.
you work all day in an office, you come home, you put on your VR headset, and you just smash everything in the office that you can't do
I
in
can see
real
how
life.
that'd
The
be
way they
copacetic.
crumble in 3D tickled
that the right
every
word?
neuron in my
Yeah.
smooth little
I think
brain,
so.
so I rather quickly switched to free play, where, side note, you can participate in part of Squid Game.
Playground Christmas survival. Oh my god, it's Squid Game. I love how you can like see when this was being developed and worked on, when this was huge. Glass panels, can you make it to the other side? I love this. Huh. Okay, easy peasy. I really want to do this multiplayer so badly. Hey, yeah. Okay. Huh. I am doing phenomenal. Huh. Ah, playing this game alone is so
I
stupid.
knew it.
Huh. Yep. It's a 50-50 shot every time. Oh, okay. Whoa. Can I like grab these people? You're going before me. No, you're going before me. Okay, now I know.
But in the other free play modes, I just went on a whirlwind trip of unstoppable roid rage that felt too good to be legal.
I can kill a man with an Xbox. What am I supposed to do? Pick the lock? Oh, jeez. This prison's made out of paper mache. What a horrible prison. Hello, prison break.
Frenzy is still in early access at the time of me playing it right now.
This
so
game
the
looks kind of
combat
fun, dude.
is kind of janky.
I don't know how to stream VR stuff though. I mean, this guy has it figured out. I'm sure I could figure it out.
Is he dead or not?
I barely used guns at all. The only really satisfying combat I did have was turning the game into a boxing simulator.
Good boxing game. It's actually a good workout. Come on, get up. Get up. Come on. He's so bad.
You can land some really satisfying punches in this game, and whenever I dropped someone in one well-timed punch, I just felt like the 500-pound gorilla my brain wants me to be.
Jab, uppercut. Yeah, you're not ready. You're not ready. Get up. Get up. Okay. Boom. He's out cold. He's out. I might have killed him.
Yeah, I
He's
think
dead.
so.
Pause. I had cereal this morning with no milk in it. I ran out of milk, so I just had crunch. Hopefully this game does get multiplayer at some point. I think that would be huge.
Ha. Perfect. Now I can use you again. No, stop. Try that one.
But it did feel nice to have a place where I can absolutely pulverize anything at any time. I think it helped me be a calmer individual this
Pick
week.
it up, squeeze face.
Oh, dropped him. What a specimen. What a specimen
he's
of
running
human
so
performance.
fast.
Why are you trying to fight me? I just I just got here. Okay, bye. My ship now. I'm the captain now. Whee! That is amazing.
That
Woo!
looks really
Wow.
like it would be
Wow, do it again.
wild
Do it
in
again. Ah,
VR.
caveman. Why are there cave people on this island? There's a gun up there. Whee! I'm gonna get that gun.
Ah,
Okay. What is it? Is it pink? Weird color. This feels extraordinarily wrong. This feels like some sort of weird Christopher Columbus reference.
And hopefully, watching me throw a finance bro into a
God.
coffee table calmed you down as well.
The moment I've been waiting for. I can finally kill Jim Bezos. Whoa, buddy. My beef is not with you. It's not with you. tripped. Is he dead? He's dead. he tripped and died.
So
Apparently, the
spawn in
like
an
button only
office.
shoots out confetti on desktop. I think I'm not positive on that, so I am sorry about last video. I
the
was not
goal is to
trying to
kill your
scam
boss?
anyone into liking the video. I promise it really does shoot out confetti sometimes, but I
Yeah.
understand if that is unforgivable.
see
And
that.
you have already ordered the drone strike on my apartment complex.
No, you don't understand. I'm innocent. I'm innocent. It wasn't me.
But love yourself, internet stranger, whoever you are.
That's
If you never
awesome.
click on one of my videos again, goodbye. Goodbye forever. Have a good rest of your life, as much as possible. And if you do keep
It's,
watching this
Hobby 147.
content for whatever reason,
Oh, it's
I guess
content, dude.
I will
This
see
is
you
good.
again
He does like
on
they're always
vacation.
like
I'm
sub
going on
10-minute
vacation, so I don't know
videos,
when I'll
but-
see you again. But until then, goodbye.
See, with a game like this, it'd be cool if you could like put the donut in the magazine and start shooting sprinkles. That'd be awesome. That's a free idea for you.
Okay. It's always like a VR game. Like he's like into like all the VR stuff. I wonder what the Daily Show's I haven't watched the Daily Show in a long time. I don't know if I want to watch that. Oh yeah, there's like a hurricane. Let's see what the deal is with that.
Is making sure all the furniture's up, the coolers are up, things like that. The boat captain's saying the same thing. But it's back
Oh,
to
it
business
already
out here.
flooded.
That's the impressive part, right? Just 24 hours ago, water everywhere.
Oh, it
and now
already
they
happened.
are open. The doors are open. They've mopped out the water. They've aired things out. And they say they feel like they missed a pretty big one, even though it looked totally different last night. We're live in Boynton Beach. Tori Dunn, WPTV News Channel 5.
All right, thank you, Tori. I love the way all these
I thought
reporters.
it was like happening right now, so we'll get off that. Does Curtis Connor have some new videos? No. Did he like drop like one a month? What I need to do, again, this is like my first day back. So what I need to do is I need to set up like a playlist so that I don't have to look through for like videos to watch. That, eventually chat will be big enough that they can just send me stuff. Yeah, this is what I wanted. I wanted to just see what the
In the day's
overview
other
on
news, U.S. inflation
it was.
eased a bit in October but remained high. The
What is it,
Labor Department reports that
360p,
consumer
dude?
prices were up 0.4% for
No.
the month and 7.
Yeah, this is another
You
thing I
wrote a
wanted to
piece
talk
this
about on the
morning,
political
actually,
front.
that
It's the polling
was-
stuff. So I want to see what Sam Cedars'
which
take
I've
on
been
it
sort
is.
of saying for a while, and I had just finished having a conversation with Bradley about this, which is like, it is so hard to parse what's happening with these polls for people like for lay people. I mean, but even it just feels like there's so many polls. It is hard to make an assessment of each of these polls. It's also hard to know how well pollsters have captured what's going on because it is such a weird time. Give me your thoughts on it.
Well, I agree with you completely. I mean, that's when, if you're following this closely, as we are, and I'm sure a lot of people are, this is a very important election, and we're all kind of on pins and needles waiting to see what happens here. The polling is just, it's just odd. When in my piece I wrote, if you'd have told me a year
It's
ago
padded.
that the Democrats that it would be within the margin of error in the polling aggregates, that perhaps the could go either way, I would have said you were crazy. Because remember, after the 2021 off-year elections, the conventional wisdom was that the Republicans they were going to sweep. It was going to be a huge red wave, maybe a red tsunami, maybe unprecedented. Biden's poll numbers were in the dirt, and you had inflation.
She might be about to say this, but turns out when you like forgive $10,000 to $20,000 in student debt and decriminalize weed and do all these like pass bills that like fight climate change, things like that, like people love that shit, dude. Turns out
Soaring sky high and gas prices and all that, and then you had
all those
that
things are popular.
months and
Do
months
popular
of the
things
Sturm
and
and
people will vote
Drang
for
that
you.
was going on in the
It's like very
Senate with Joe
simple.
Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, and it looked like Biden's agenda was dead in the water. All of that sort of added up to a CW, a conventional wisdom, that it was done. It was just a done deal. And you pile on top of that the historical sort of mandate that says that the off year, the party in the White House always loses seats, and it didn't seem unreasonable to me to think that was going to happen. I kind of assumed it, and I think most people did. And then obviously the Supreme Court, overturned Roe versus Wade, and things seemed over the summer to really be shifting the other direction. And where we've ended up now is this polling within the margin of error. And the margin of error is something to it's particularly, important to think about during these midterms. Midterms are kind of hard to poll. I mean, you poll this generic ballot, which is, would you rather have Democrats or Republicans in power? And, that sort of gives a sense of where people are, which at this point would be tied. If you look at the aggregate polling, it appears to be tied. And then each individual race has its own dynamics. And then you have this new, problem that has been growing for some time, and it's now seems to have reached sort of a critical mass over the last couple of cycles, that the polls are just off. And the problem is that it's in the last two cycles, it's been off pretty substantially.
You want to know the real thing? Is it's harder the more specific, and this is like a statistics thing, like the more specific you get, the harder it is to poll something, right? So like if you poll, like she was talking about, Democrat versus Republican, it's going to be a little more accurate. Or if you poll an issue, right, you get like a sample size of 4,000 people polled on an issue like cannabis is a great one, right? Healthcare, would you like universal healthcare or not? Cannabis decriminalization or not? All this stuff, those polls are usually more valuable, as in they're going to be a little bit more accurate to what people actually think. Whereas like if you were to ask, about very specific races, you even have like big pollsters out there talking about, oh, like I had to call 100 people before I got one answer, if they're looking for the Wisconsin gubernatorial race or something, right? Well, of course you're going to get bad data doing that, right? Because there's a whole bunch of variables. You're only doing it on the phone. I mean, if you were only doing it online, that would also be like a biased sample. All these things. And then it's kind of like it puts us in this chicken or the egg situation, right? Did the polling influence the outcome, right? Because we poll for months and months and months, or was the outcome different now because the polling was publicized and now that changed the outcome? So it's like this weird. Anyway, I'll let her finish.
Substantially by undercounting Republicans. Now, the problem is that they've always been off to a certain degree in midterms in particular, but it goes the other way too. 2012 was off by the undercounted Democrats. In fact, 538 had a good piece this week about saying, look, this is a close election, and if you look at it and you look at the historical, sort of averages, this could go either way. And
they literally said like, Democrats could hold on and retain both houses, or it could be they could get completely wiped out.
Right.
And I mean, there's not many other options.
Yeah, those are the options.
I mean, like it's basically like everything's on the table right now. which is a very bizarre place to be. And then,
and it's still that way, right? You look at like the election results. Hang on. It's still up in the air. Still. No one's got majority in the House and the Senate. We don't even know. It's still split governorships. Right? So it's still like this.
and I would add to that, that the summary pieces, and we should say, to the extent that it's polling, like I feel like there are people who can say, well, if you look only at the polls that look at, let's say, 1,000 people instead of 600, you're going to get a much better sense of what's going on, here, and that may or may not be true. And there is also this sort of like, we're back to that era where the conventional wisdom, as you call it, the sort of the beltway media types, they frame everything as, on some level, like bad for the Democrats. I mean, it used to be basically before we had memes or we were close. It was Democrats sweep all houses. This looks bad for the Democrats. They're going to be in a position where they could be held accountable for anything that happens in government. It's like, it's always, and so it's very hard to not, I mean, I try and read, 5 or 10 articles a day about a specific topic, but I still see all the headlines, and it's hard not to get influenced by that. And one wonders how much influence that has on the electorate as well.
Right.
Well, there
That's
is
what I was
that.
saying.
I mean, you do wonder, and I think it's certainly,
polling
demobilizing
influences.
or at least somewhat depressing for Democrats to be reading that, it's all over. You've got them, they're measuring the drapes in Nancy Pelosi's office. I mean, it's pretty clear where the media stands. And you're absolutely right that it is in that every single thing that happens, a bad poll comes out for, Raphael Warnock in Georgia, and it's all over, right? I mean, this is just, looks like in fact, I think Politico had a headline yesterday that said, Republicans finally get off the mat. What? Have they been on the mat? I don't think so, but, whatever. They seem to be framing the election. Now, it's always bad for us, right? I mean, and I pointed out in my piece, 2016, a lot of what happened in 2016 was a result of the Beltway deciding that Hillary Clinton had the election won. And they had no obligation to sort of observe any kind of, to be careful in any way about the way that they were presenting that election. And of course, it became, they were shown that that wasn't true. That was also a very close election. And the media was irresponsible in their coverage of Clinton and the emails and all that. They don't seem to have learned anything by that. And it is even more dangerous now what they're doing, because as we all know, what we have set up here, what is absolutely being planned, they've got lawyers in place, is that if Republicans lose this election, or even if they don't gain as many seats as they think they deserve here, which apparently is all of them, they're going to contest the election. They're going to say that it was stolen. They are prepared to do this. And by setting up this idea that Republicans can't lose this election with the coverage that they're doing, they are just asking for this to happen. If there's ever been an election where the media should be very careful about how they're framing it, it should have been this one. I'm not saying they needed to say that, that Republicans can't win or that Democrats are ahead, or they don't just have to tell it straight down the line. Don't color it in any way. Just be very clear that this is a very close election and anything could happen, because that's the truth. And yet you're not seeing that. And I really worry now. I mean, we've got violence in the air. We just saw, an assault on the husband of the Speaker of the House. And this is not the time for them to be, sort of doing their usual winking and nodding about how well we know it's really happening, don't we? Which is what's really going on. So I'm very concerned about that. It's not impossible. I obviously, I hope the Democrats do well at least hold the Senate, and it's certainly within the realm of possibility that they will. But I am worried about what the Republicans are going to do if that happens, and I put some of the blame on that onto the media for not being really clear that it's within the realm of possibility. And they'll say that they have said it, but you and I, it's what we've just both been saying. You know, the hinting around the sort of attitude that they take, the framing of the questions, the framing of the headlines, all is leading Republicans to believe that they have it in the bag, and they don't.
Dude.
So, you know,
I don't know why.
they win either way, I guess, in this situation.
Just part of it for me is that the Democrats are not as good at making the media say what they want them to say, as opposed to the Republicans, who've always been really good at getting out ahead of a certain narrative and then making that a talking point in and of itself. Like, the Democrats are now coming late to the oh, this is an existential threat to democracy and that's why you need to vote, and oh, getting out ahead of like the economic talking points that the Republicans have been pushing. And it's just like they're so much louder and more effective at getting the media to regurgitate what they want, and Democrats have never been good at that. I mean, that's kind of part of the issue for me.
It's a huge issue, and it's been, I mean, this goes back, you know, decades to the whole, you know, and
because if you get good at that, then people are going to start asking Democrats questions. Well, why didn't you do this and that? You have to look inept as a Democrat, because if you gain too much power, too much popular power, people are going to start asking questions. Well, why didn't you pass universal health care? Right? Why did you let them cut Medicaid? Why did you take all this money and give it to gigantic corporations? Well, they don't want those kind of questions.
They planned this. You know, the Republicans, this didn't happen spontaneously. It happened because the Republicans back in the 70s, during the Nixon era and just afterwards, decided that they needed to tame the media. And they coined the phrase the liberal media back then, and they started what we've always called over all these years of working the refs, right? Which is what they pound the media for being biased, which, you know, they aren't. If anything, they're the opposite now. But what they've done is pounded in to the media's mind this idea that they have to go out of their way to be fair to Republicans, because Republicans are under, you know, because they're the media elite, the coastal elites, whatever, and they're out of touch with the salt of the earth, real Americans out there, and so they have to go out of their way to do this. And so Republicans have pounded that into the media's mind, and they just reflexively sort of respond to complaints from.
It's weak. It's just weak.
Even with, you know, the right wing has its very own media that's, I would say, equally powerful now to the mainstream media, that, you know, half the country watches and listens to them exclusively.
More than that. Tucker Carlson is the most popular news broadcaster in the United States.
And the Democrats have never really found a way to do that. They want to have this idea that the media is neutral and that this is the reality-based, you know, media that isn't,
I don't know why I'm dropping so many frames, guys.
Subject to democratic influence. It's not working. You're absolutely right. It doesn't work. I mean, the asymmetry in the way that the media reacts to both parties and the way both parties deal with the media is, you know, is very, very obvious. And it's hurt the Democrats a lot. And, you know, I honestly don't know what they're going to do to try and change that. I mean, it seems to me as though, you know, this is really you know, the problem's gotten worse over the years rather than better.
Yeah, I think that's fairly obvious. Yeah. Oh, you know what I missed? Joe Rogan had a video. Oh boy, I can't wait to watch this one.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Infuriating. Let me show you why. where is the there we go. 2.7 degree limit was still going to be devastating. Where is the I need like the the IPCC report. I'll find it and we'll go over it later, okay? Infuriating. All right, let's watch this even newer one.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Now, the Great Pyramid of Giza is
I do enjoy Graham Hancock. I read a couple of his books. I think he has some interesting things. I know he's like controversial in the archaeology community and all that stuff. So let's see what he has to say. I have way more questions than answers after that. But hey, you know? Ooh, Event Horizon? Man, these are all like an hour. No, we're not gonna do that. Were there any, did I miss any Joe Rogans? Do I want to do this right now? Let's do it.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I think of marriage is a...
Before we start. This dude is a huge dumbass. Just saying. So just keep that in mind.
A certain thing, which is the context for procreation, for the building of the nuclear family.
What about people that get married that don't have kids? Are you opposed to that? What if they get married, they decide, you know what, we don't need kids, I'm going to get fixed. You get your tubes tied, let's travel the world.
Well, what do you mean am I opposed to it? I mean, I think that every married couple should be open to life.
But what if they don't want to? Are you opposed to them being married? If marriage is only for procreation and to bond a family together, what about people that are deeply in love that never want to have children?
I don't think it's not only procreation, but that is one of the fundamental definitional aspects of it. Of course, there's more to marriage just than that.
And what about people that are infertile? They fall in love and they realize that they can have babies. And they don't really necessarily want to adopt. Is that okay for them to be married? Because then by definition, marriage falls into a completely different thing. Because then it's a bond of love. It's a union of love.
Sure. I mean, that doesn't change the nature of marriage, though. It's a little bit like I say that what's the definition of a woman? Well, a woman is someone who by her nature can conceive children in her womb and bear children.
Oh, God.
And then the response is always, well, what about women who are infertile? Does that destroy...
It's just like the transphobia, like off the fucking jump, dude.
Your definition of woman, and it doesn't, because you know it's still a woman's nature to bear children. Not every woman will, and there will be disease and infertility and old age and all these.
Hey, I know we're talking about like marriage between like regular people, but hey, here's some transphobia just like mixed in for you, just in case.
Things that will preclude that, but it's still of her nature to do so. And I would say the same thing for marriage. I mean, it is natural in a marriage for procreation to occur. It's not always going to happen in reality, though. But that's still one of the natural functions of marriage. And married couples who can't conceive children, there are other ways to be parents, like adoption, for example.
If they want to, right? Sure. But if people want to be married and don't want to ever have children, are you opposed to them being married?
Answer the question.
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't advocate a law that would prevent it.
But would it change the definition of what their marriage is to you because they don't want to have a family? They just want to have a loving bond?
I think this would be a couple that is rejecting one of the fundamental aspects of marriage, and that they should be open to life. I would hope that in the future they would be, but
isn't that just a personal choice? I mean, you can have a very fulfilling life if you just follow your pursuits and your dreams and your interests, and you find someone that shares those interests with you, and you share time together. It's very fulfilling and loving.
Yeah, it's a personal choice, in that I'm not advocating for like a law that says that you if you're married you have to have X number of kids.
But But then why are you opposed to two gay people doing that?
Well, because again, it's not about choice. It's about what this institution, marriage is an institution, and what is it, and what purpose does it serve? And I do not agree with tearing down or changing this definition, especially because the people who have changed the definition haven't come up with a new one. So they say, well, that's not what marriage is. So for thousands of years, we said marriage is the procreative union. And then we had the other side that came along and said, well, it's not that. Okay, well then, like,
it's a legal partnership. What?
What is it exactly? And I know you said, well,
a partnership.
Well, it's people who love each other. Two people love each other. Well, but then, why two people? Why do they have to love each other? All these.
It doesn't even. Sure, fuck it. Why not, dude? Could be 8 people. Who gives a fuck?
These kinds of questions. You get into what if they're in the same family? What if brothers and sisters want to marry? And I know every time that comes up, the advocates for gay marriage will say, well,
dude. It's the same shit, dude. Same shit every time. Gay marriage. We can't have that. What if somebody wants to marry their horse, dude? Man, this shit is so
slippery
tired,
slope argument. That's fallacious, but
I don't know why
it's actually not. It's like we're trying to get to what do you even think this institution is now?
But like,
since you've rejected out what we were saying it was, and I've never found a compelling definition. And any definition offered, it's like, well, what's even the point then? Why do we even need this now?
I just don't see how a gay marriage in any way damages.
You ask a conservative any question, and I know this from like personal experience. Like, I talk to conservatives a lot. Well, you ask them about something like, oh, democracy. Well, what's the definition of democracy? We need to have like a definition. It's like, motherfucker, you know what democracy is. We all do. Trying to bog me down in a conversation.
A straight marriage
about definitions.
I don't see it at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems to me that people want to be. Look,
I understand definitions are important, but you're derailing it to only talk about definitions. That's the definition of bad faith.
If you wanted to look at logic, especially in our modern society, which is
ironically
pretty fucked when it comes to relationships, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of all marriages end in divorce anyway. They don't make it. I don't know if anything would damage marriage and damage the institution of marriage is the option of divorce. I don't think gay people getting married in any way, shape, or form changes a bond that you have with your wife. It's just called marriage. It's a human invented thing. If we decide that gay people can get married too, I just don't see how it damages anything. I don't think it tears down the definition of marriage in any way. It just opens up the possibility that people who are gay won't be discriminated against.
Yeah, I don't think that a gay couple existing directly impacts. There's a gay couple and wherever, and I'm with my wife in our house. Like obviously,
right.
There's not. But I'm not talking about on the individual level. I'm talking about on the societal level.
Right.
I would agree that divorce, especially this no-fault divorce, rampant divorce. I don't think it's as high as 50%. I know that's often quoted. I'm not sure where that comes from, but it is high. It's too high. And
Chris Rock has a great joke about that. He said those are just the people with the courage to get out. It's like how many cowards stay.
But it's also true that
is kind of funny.
The advocates for what we call now traditional marriage, which I just call marriage, but the advocates for traditional marriage put themselves at a disadvantage by especially in the churches, allowing this rampant divorce to occur.
What's that mean? What's the definition of traditional?
And then you've already
I can do it
sort of given up on some marriage is supposed to be monogamous and permanent, as well as procreative. Well, you've given up monogamy and permanence, and so now it's not. That's 2 of the 3 legs gone. And so now this assault was waged on the procreative part of it, and it was difficult to withstand it because the institution had already been weakened. So I agree with you there. But my answer to that is to try to reinforce what marriage is, not to just give up on it entirely. And I still think you're left with this question of, like, if marriage is not what I'm saying it is, then why do we even need it? What's the point? I mean, you're saying it's a man-made institution.
Yeah,
but you see my cat.
But you're also, like, the way that you're presenting it, it's also a totally meaningless institution. So you don't need it at all.
No, it's not meaningless. It's because it means something to the people that get married.
So it's just a subjective, symbolic thing. I mean, what?
Yeah.
So if you're,
Kind of what it is. Look,
dude.
there's a
It's like
massive
legal,
responsibility
symbolic
when you're married
piece of
and when
paper,
you have
dude.
children to keep your family together and you raise and keep everybody happy and healthy. And there's great reward to that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out. It's people change. People are fucked up. It doesn't always work. And so I don't think it should be outlawed because 50% of the people fall apart. Just like I don't think it has any effect whatsoever on a straight couple if a gay couple decides that they want to make it official. And that's what it is to them. It gives them a feeling that they're accepted and appreciated and that they're not discriminated against because they happen to be homosexual.
So what you're articulating to me is the damage that's done by gay marriage to the institution of marriage.
But how is it done? How is that in any way damaged straight people?
Because we are making the institution meaningless.
But it's not meaningless.
Well, but
it's very meaningful to the people that have it.
Subjective, symbolic, and it's about your own personal feelings.
I can't believe we're still having this fucking conversation, dude.
Well, no, I would say that it's not.
Well, if it's not subjective and it's not symbolic,
it codifies and protects and gives a name to a thing that actually exists, which are man, woman couples creating people.
He can't stop trying to, like, bring it back to the definition that it's the definition.
People creating babies,
but not always.
Right, but that's still the nature of the union. So,
but what are the percentage of people today that are married that don't have children? I bet it's pretty high amongst heterosexuals.
Probably.
Is there something wrong with that?
I think there is something wrong with that. I think there is something wrong with getting married and saying, we're not going to have any kids at all.
But why is there something wrong with that if someone's personal choice?
I can't believe I'm like 100% with Joe Rogan here. Like, wait, please explain. What exactly is what's your beef here?
Two people are like, I am deeply committed to work and I don't want to sacrifice any of my career and I don't want to ruin a kid because I'm constantly at the office, but that's where I get deep satisfaction and that's what I'm focused on. And the woman says, that's great because I don't want children either. I really am attached to my interests and my career and what I like to do. That's not damaging your relationship with your wife and your family. I certainly don't think of it as a threat to my marriage or my family.
Yeah, it is a personal choice.
Right, but shouldn't people be allowed to make those personal choices? Like, isn't that a fundamental aspect of what it means to be American, to have that freedom?
Well, but right now we're not talking about what people are allowed to do. I'm not saying that.
Well, we're talking about marriage, gay marriage.
Okay, we were just discussing straight couples who choose not to have kids.
That's also a personal freedom issue,
right.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that straight couples should be legally required to have kids, but if you're asking me, do I think it's the right choice to just get married and choose not to have kids ever?
It's the same thing, right? Like, it's the same thing as always. Well, I don't want to make a law about it, but it's the moral thing to do. Cut to like 3 years later. Well, it's the moral thing to do, so we should make a law about it. Right? That's how it works. That's how all this bullshit works.
I do not think that that's the right choice. It's their choice, but people can make choices that are wrong.
It's another avenue to force this dude and people like his specific preferred moral compass onto an entire population. That's the goal.
And you can disagree.
But how is it wrong if they have a fulfilling and wonderful life together with that choice? If their thing is that they just want to have a bond between the two of them, to just like take it to the next level, let everybody know, like, we are married. If I die, my money's going to go to Helen, and if Helen dies, I'm going to mourn her.
That's the other thing that gets like lost in all this, is like there is a legal construct, right? And I think even Joe Rogan has talked about it before, man, where it's like being married has tax implications, right? Joint filing, all that kind of stuff. It has health insurance implications, which wouldn't be a problem if we had like I don't know, like publicly funded health care. But as it stands right now, it has health insurance implications. It is probably, in most cases, more expensive for two people who are not married to get health insurance than it is for a married couple, heterosexual or not. Doesn't matter. So this again is like what Matt Walsh does. Like, he wants to not only like I said, push like his personal like moral compass onto you, or onto like a broad population, everyone really. It's another tool to, oppress people that you don't like. That's it.
Because she was my wife and now I'll be a widower. Like, to some people, that distinction gives them peace and security and makes them feel better about the relationship, that they're both so committed that they've legally signed documents that say that they're bound by law and under the eyes of God or whatever you believe in.
Yeah. They're able to make that choice, but I think you're still rejecting one of the purposes of marriage. And in the scenario that you just outlined, you're also deciding to live a really self-centered life. You're saying,
but what if you're not? What if your work is very charitable? What if it benefits humanity in a deep way? What if you spend a lot of time doing,
he doesn't care about that, Joe.
Healthcare work and
he doesn't
and social
do you
work,
think he
and
cares,
you're deeply committed to your community. It's not selfish at all. You're just dedicating your time to something other than raising new human beings.
Yeah,
you're dedicating your life to enhancing other human beings that are around you.
That's a hypothetical.
It is a hypothetical. Right. So's yours, right?
Yeah, but I think most of the people that choose, like, we're not going to have kids, and the rate of those rates are declining, and
another thing, the birth rate is declining because that's what happens when life gets better for people, right? The reason that we don't have, that like I don't have 8 kids is because I don't have a fucking farm to run, right? I can support myself in this country. There's issues, of course, but look at other comparable nations, right? Other like OECD nations, Japan, it doesn't matter. Asian countries, European countries, North American countries, Canada, all of them. You see a rise in quality of life, and you see a drop in birth rates. It usually levels out, just under 2.
The age when people first have kids is also going up, and all of that.
Yeah.
And most of the people that are
about replacement rate
are making these choices, I don't think it's because they're involved in charity work. I do think that it is more the scenario you outlined in the first time around, which is just like, well, this is what I'm doing. I have my job. I don't want to give it up.
Yeah. But don't you think that people should have the freedom to live their life in that way? I think human beings vary widely, in a huge way. And I think there's some human beings that find a very fulfilling life just reading books and traveling and experiencing different things and seeing art and doing whatever the fuck they want to do. And they don't necessarily have to have kids to live a fulfilling life that way. And if they choose to do that with someone who they have a loving bond with and who they get married to. I don't think it's a bad thing that they don't want to have kids.
Well, I guess we have to, maybe we're running into a question of, now you get to the real fundamental
I
questions.
think it's a fundamental freedom thing.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing, I guess, on the freedom aspect of it, because, again, I'm not saying that you should be required to have kids.
But you're imposing your sensibilities,
right?
And what you think is important in life to other people. But
Now
everybody has a different idea of what's important in life without hurting anyone. The thing is, like, what I'm saying is these people that are married, that don't have children, they're not harming anyone. They're not harming these unborn children that they never have. They're not harming anyone. And it doesn't affect your relationship with your family and your marriage at all.
Yeah, but I'm not imposing myself on them or harming them by answering a question about how I feel about their choices.
Right, but nor are gay people doing that to you.
I think the harm comes from, on a societal level, when we start breaking down these basic central institutions, like the institution of the family and of marriage.
I gotta feed my
That's
cat.
where the harm comes from. And the more that people believe, the more that we build a society where it's believed that marriage is objectively meaningless, right? It's entirely subjective. It's just about making you feel better. The more that we build a society like that, I think that's where the harm comes in. The worse it is, and people are going to reject marriage, and that means more. Fewer kids are being born. Also, more kids are being born in a context where they don't have that stable family structure. So the harm definitely comes. It may not be this immediate, connect the dots thing, but and we can already see that.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. Oh, God.
And
I don't know if I want to watch this right now. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out with me today and letting me test everything out. And yeah, I'll be back Sunday. I'm going to be streaming on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. I'm going to try and keep a consistent schedule, so drop a follow. That little notification deal. So next time I'm live, we can hang out. I'll try and get like all the gaming stuff figured out. It's like a shit show. So, yeah. Thanks for stopping in, and we will see you tomorrow. Or not tomorrow. Sunday. I will play out some nice music for the end here. Have a great night.